The woman who heard crying beneath the river. Everyone in Dunmere knew the river had moods. In spring it laughed against stones. In summer it drifted lazily beneath the willows. In winter it hardened into something dark and silent. But in autumn, when fog pressed low into the valley, the river whispered. Mara Vale didn't believe in any of it. She returned to Dunmere after her mother's funeral, expecting nothing but paperwork and silence. The village had shrunk, boarded windows, fading paint, empty streets that felt like they were waiting for something to finish happening. Only the river looked unchanged. It curled around the town like a black ribbon, slow and deep. Mara inherited her mother's cottage beside it. You'll hear things at night, the grocer told her, wrapping bread with shaking hands. What kind of things? She asked. He didn't answer directly. Best not to listen. That night, rain struck the roof like fists. Wind threaded through the walls. Mara unpacked until exhaustion pulled her into bed. Sometime after midnight, she woke. A woman was crying. Not outside. Underneath the house. The sobbing came again, soft, broken, as if pulled through water. Mara sat up, heart tightening. She followed the sound barefoot across the floorboards. It shifted beneath her, moving toward the river. Then it stopped. Morning made her doubt herself. Old pipes. Wind. Grief playing tricks. Until she mentioned it to Mrs. Alden next door. The old woman went pale. You heard her already? Who? Mrs. Alden lowered her voice. The river woman. She told Mara the story in fragments. Long ago, a woman named Elson Thorne lived in Dunmere with her daughter Ivy. After Elson's husband drowned, she began to change. She walked the riverbanks at night, speaking to something beneath the water. Then Ivy disappeared. No body was ever found. Elson said the river had taken her, not killed her but kept her. She said she could hear Ivy crying under the river, Mrs. Alden whispered. Like the dead don't rest there. They stay. And Elson? The woman looked toward the fogged window. She walked into the river with stones in her pockets. That night, Mara tried to ignore everything. At midnight, the crying returned. Closer. Clearer. Please. The voice trembled beneath the floor, then drifted outward, toward the river itself. Mara lit a lantern and stepped outside. Fog swallowed the bank. The river moved without sound. The crying came again. But now it was not beneath her house. It was beneath the water. She stepped closer. In the middle of the river, bubbles rose in slow, steady pulses, like breathing. Then a shape appeared under the surface. A pale face. Eyes open. Mouth stretched in endless sobbing. Mara stumbled back. The lantern dropped and died in mud. Darkness flooded the world. But the crying multiplied. Dozens of voices now. Men. Women. Children. All weeping beneath the river. Mara ran. By morning, Mara packed her things. She was leaving Dunmere. Then a photograph slipped from an old book. For children stood beside the river. Mara recognized herself immediately. 10 years old, muddy boots, tangled hair. But beside her stood another girl she didn't remember. On the back, in her mother's handwriting. Ivy before the river forgot her. Mara stared at it too long. That night she searched records in the church archives. The truth unraveled slowly and horribly. Girls named Ivy Thorne had vanished in different years. Every generation. Always girls. Always Ivy. And after a few years, records stopped mentioning them at all. As if the town itself erased them. Mara felt something cold settle in her chest. She remembered a girl laughing by the river. A yellow ribbon in her hair. A voice asking, "You won't forget me, right?" And Mara answering, "Of course not." The village finally confessed when pressed. Long ago, during a drought, a stranger came to Dunmere. An old woman who said the river was alive. Hungry. She said it could be fed. One child. Every generation. Named Ivy. At first, no one believed her. Then the rains came after the first sacrifice. The crops returned. The river stabilized. Dunmere survived. But the price repeated. Always. We tried to stop it, the mayor said. But once it takes one, it remembers how to ask again. Mara's voice was quiet. And my mother? No one answered. That was enough. That night, the crying beneath the river grew louder. And it was calling her name. A storm broke over Dunmere. Mara walked to the river with the photograph and lantern. The water roared now, alive with motion. Faces rose beneath the surface. Then Elson Thorne stood in the current, half-formed from water and grief. You remember them, she said. Yes. Then the river can't keep them. Hands seized Mara and dragged her under. There was no water below. Only depth. Endless darkness filled with floating children, all weeping silently. At the bottom lay something vast. A mouth without shape or end. The river's hunger. Mara began calling names. Every stolen child she could remember. Ivy Thorn. The darkness trembled. More voices answered her. The trapped began to rise. The river itself started to crack. The world broke open. Water vanished overnight from Dunmere, leaving only a deep trench winding through the valley. At its bottom lay bones. Mara was found alive, clutching the photograph. Years later, people argued about what happened. A miracle. A curse. A reckoning. But Mara never stayed long in Dunmere again. Sometimes, on cold nights, she still heard it. Faint crying, not beneath her anymore. Somewhere deeper. As if another river had learned the sound of grief.